This is Conversations with Lavish. It's time for us all to come together. Young, old, and everyone in between. Lavish talks about business, news, politics, networking, and anything else that's going on in the world. Find us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Lavish Towing, and on YouTube at Lavish T. Williams. This is Lavish T. Williams.
Good afternoon, everybody. Everybody that's watching and tuned in. I have a special guest today. A lot of you guys and gals have seen her in the magazines, on Facebook, TikTok, all social media platforms, the news. We have Dr. Sabrina Jackson. Whoa. We don't want to... Yeah. We got Dr. Sabrina in the house. Dr. Sabrina, I'm glad to have you here. Thanks for coming on my show. Thanks for coming on the show. We're here to talk about some mental health issues, life, relationships, and any and everything in between.
Okay.
So.
Thanks for having me.
Not a problem. Where should I start?
Where would you like to start?
How did you become a doctor? Where did that come from?
I went to school. I went to school because I like school. I have a degree in social work from Eastern Michigan. I have a master's degree from Wayne State. Then I got a doctorate degree in organizational psychology. And then because I'm crazy and I like school so much, I went back to school and got one in strategic leadership.
Oh, wow. Interesting. So years total, how many years of schooling do you have? A lot?
12. Post high school. And of course I went to the greatest high school there.
You went to Mumford?
I went to Cass Technical High School.
I thought you said you went to the greatest. I thought you went to the greatest.
I did. So I tell people this. I don't get upset with people because they honor and cherish what made them, but I honor and cherish what made me.
Oh, wow.
So I am a Cass technician, class of 84.
Okay. Class of 84. Okay, there we go. Dr. Sabrina. All right. So we want to talk about some mental health things that's going on. Okay. Today in the world, we have COVID that's taking over right now. And we got a lot of death that's going on that has happened. A lot of people, they have lost loved ones, lost family members. How are people coping with that? How do they deal with that? What's a way to help deal with so much death in such a short time?
Well, first of all, it's a couple of things. First, you need to understand that there is a difference between grief and mourning. And because of the way that death is occurring so quickly, it doesn't give us time to really mourn, because grief is what we feel inside, is what we feel, is what we think, is what goes on internally. Mourning is the external expression of that loss. So whether that's crying, yelling, jumping, falling out, whatever you do when you mourn. But the piece about grief is that the first stage of grief is shock. And that when you feel shock, you feel like, I can't believe this happened. You feel numb. And when you are kicked into grief back to back to back, it's very difficult to move to the next stage of grief, which is denial, then anger, and it's hard to get there. And so now we see people finally starting to move into those second and third stages, and now they're angry, they're irritated, they're agitated, on top of the losses of other things in their life, because loss is loss, whether it's a loss of a person, a job, a place to stay, your routines and your habits, all of those still cause you to grieve. So people are really experiencing something called grief overload, which is a real thing. It's compounded upon compounded upon compounded. So you ask the question, how do you deal with it? Well, the first thing is to be real about a thing in order to heal from a thing. So you have to acknowledge your feelings. You have to say that, you know what, I am sad. I am irritated. I am agitated. Because if you don't do that, then you keep stuffing and stuffing. It's going to attack you internally. It'll attack you physically when you don't deal with the mental and emotional stressors that we have.
Wow. Do you think people are becoming more desensitized to death?
No.
You don't?
I don't. I think that one of the things, especially in the African American community, we're really not taught how to deal with death. We just don't. We're not taught to prepare for it. We just keep going along in our lives. So that's one of the reasons why people really have a difficult time on their own planning for death. When getting life insurance, a lot of people go, "Oh no, if I get life insurance, then that means I'm planning to leave. I ain't leaving, so I'm not gonna have no life insurance." Because we have this sixth sense in our head that says if I actually get life insurance, that means I'm condoning dying. So now we have this expectation that it's going to happen sooner than later if we start to think about it, plan for it, whether that's having a will, a trust, or whatever. And so we have to really get away from that stinking thinking because we come here to leave.
That is very true. So we are really living to die.
Absolutely.
We're living to die.
But let me say this. Because you're living to die, you better live.
You gotta, I feel you. I understand. We gonna live, and I want everybody to live.
I'm gonna roll the wheels off this puppy. Trust and believe. I am living my best life. It was so funny. And in the car on my way here, I was hearing that song by Snoop. Living my best life. I ain't going back and forth with you.
What happened?
You know.
Oh, okay. That's the beep.
The beep. But I love that song.
So you a hip hop? You a hip hop artist?
I am a music connoisseur.
Okay.
So I like all types of music. One of my favorite songs on the planet is "Fly Me to the Moon" by Frank Sinatra.
Interesting.
I love classical music. I love the soundtrack from Hamilton. Always, I listen to it every day.
Every day.
Every day. I listen to something from the soundtrack of Hamilton every day. I just love that soundtrack. I love Al Green. I love the Clark Sisters.
Yeah.
I love DMX. Rest in peace, my brother.
That was one of my favorites. That was one of my favorite rappers, and that was before his death. That was before his death.
I just think that DMX had such an anointing on him, and so people, but he just was. He just was.
He was him.
It was something about certain people that when they show up, you know they there.
And he was one of them.
Everybody's not like that. Everybody doesn't have that on them that when they walk in a room, you turn around. Who be that person? Harpo, who be that woman? I like movies too, so I'll just talk about movies.
So you're also a singer.
I do sing. I grew up in St. James Baptist Church here. Reverend Charles H. Nix, the late Reverend Charles H. Nix, the late Jimmy Dow. So I sang in the choir. I sang as a child. As I got older, I began to sing at funerals and weddings and things of that nature. So, yeah, I do a little songing.
That's cool. That is great. So here's something that I see from other interviews that you have been on, and you're very vocal about talking about things from your childhood.
Okay.
And I'm sure that people that follow you, they already know this about you. But people that don't know you and don't know your story, you were sexually assaulted by your grandfather.
So that would not be the correct terminology.
It would not be.
And I'm going to tell you why.
Okay.
Because he did not penetrate me. So I was molested, but molestation does not mean necessarily penetration. And assault is rape. So I was not raped. I was raped later, but I wasn't raped by my grandfather. It would be classified as incest because he did. I was a family member, and molestation. So he fondled me. He he masturbated while fondling me, but he never penetrated me.
How old were you at this time?
I was 8.
And at that time, you were told
Not to say anything. Yes.
Not to tell.
Yeah.
And that was a dark secret that
Yes.
you had within yourself. And who was that? Maybe your mother?
Yep.
For years.
Yeah, I didn't actually come out and say anything in public about it until I was 48.
48 years old.
I was 48.
And then after that, still as a child, a teenager, you were actually raped by some neighborhood children.
They weren't children. They were in their late teens, so they weren't children, but they were people in my neighborhood. So I was gang raped. So it was 3 gentlemen.
And what happened after that?
I didn't say a word.
Didn't say a word.
Didn't say a word. And that's because by the time I was 14, that happened at 14. By the time I was 14, I was already conditioned not to tell. And so a lot of times when we hear in the media and we hear people coming forth years later, male, female, whoever, and start to talk about their story, people go, well, why didn't you say nothing? Well, you have no idea what a person has gone through. And so I tell people all the time, people don't need your opinion. They may need your prayer. They may need your understanding, but they don't need your opinion. Because what your opinion got to do with my story? Really?
Yeah. I mean, I'm one of the people who have said in the past, if that happened 20 years ago, why are they talking about it now? And that's mainly when we speak on high-profile celebrities.
Mm-hmm. They still people.
They're still people, definitely. But I think because it has not happened to us, we don't know how it feels
we have no
to be
sensitivity
that.
to
Correct.
It. Yeah.
Right. So we sit there and we're looking on a standpoint of they just want some attention. They're trying to get some money. Why would they wait 30 years, 20 years later to bring this up? Whatever. That's how we look at it.
But let me say this. One of the things around the conditioning not to tell is it spills over in other areas of your life. So it's not just not telling about that. You begin to not own your truth, your honesty, whether it be what happens in your job, what happens with your mate. You begin to, that becomes a pattern of how you think, how you function, because that's your foundation, and that's what it has been built on. So I found myself in business situations, not really liking something but not saying anything because I was using that mechanism of not telling my truth. And so once I got to the point that I was healed enough to tell the truth, which my truth I own and it's mine, and I have a right to do with it what I choose to do with it. And to be real honest, at this point, I really don't care who don't like it, who got a problem with it, who says I shouldn't have told. I have a good friend that I grew up in church with, and when I did finally tell the story, when I did my Twisted Storyteller story, and I sent it to a bunch of people, she called another friend of mine and says, I really don't think that Sabrina should have said that. She should have kept that to herself, because there's still people that think that, well, if you've gone this long without saying anything, don't say nothing.
Mm-hmm. But when you said something, was that like a moment of relief?
To be real honest, no, it wasn't, because I didn't even plan to say nothing the day I said something.
Okay.
I was on a panel of women, and a woman in the audience asked a question, and it pricked my story. And so I just started, because my whole being is about helping someone else. And so because I felt her pain, I felt where she was, I knew that my story could help her.
Okay. And
so that's when I told it. And it was so crazy because so many people were like, oh my God, I never knew that happened to you. Oh my God, I would have never thought. And then I said, well, what are people supposed to look like? So I walk around with my clothes tattered and torn, What am I supposed to look like? Yeah, put on makeup. Yeah, I do all of that. So I know that it is a space where it helps other people heal. And then once I told it on Fox too,
yeah,
I had more men call me than anything. And it was amazing how many men called me saying that they had the freedom now to tell their truth about their assaults. I had a guy who called in to my radio show and said that he had been assaulted when he first joined the Army.
A man.
By men.
Wow.
And so another guy called in and says, I don't believe him because I was in the military and that didn't happen to me. Well, it was other people in my family that what happened to me didn't happen to them, but that don't mean that what happened to me didn't happen to me.
Interested. Some people have no compassion.
No capacity. And they make it about them. See, this is the thing I tell people. If you stop taking things personally, then you could open up yourself to understand who you're dealing with, because people are navigating the world based on what's inside of them, not what's inside of you. So when we say things like, well, if it were me, I would have told, but we're not talking about you.
And they would never know what they would have done unless they were in those shoes.
Exactly.
I mean, so many times we sit and we say, if it was me.
I don't even say that. I don't even
You can't.
use those words anymore. I stopped saying that because if it were, first of all, it ain't me.
Right.
Like when we look at the situation that's going on with all of these people being killed by police and and we say, well, if it were me, or like I hear people say, if they were born a slave, they would have, what they would have did, I would have ran away, or I would have fought back. No, that whip was very convincing.
Yeah, and you would have been doing what you were told at that particular time.
Or you would have been dead. I mean, there was only two options: comply or die.
And most people wanted to comply.
Because at the end of the day, the survival of the fittest is a very powerful thing within us. We want to live.
Right. These men that raped you lived in your neighborhood. You seen them.
All the time, yep.
All the time. Mm-hmm. As an individual, knowing what had happened to you, take us through a journey of your mindset, seeing those individuals, knowing what they have done to you.
I didn't even think about it. I had suppressed it so that when I saw them, I would go, hey, how y'all doing?
Wow.
One, because I did not want to prick their memory to feel like they could run up on me and do it again. That was my thing. I was like, oh, I can't cause no trouble, because if I cause trouble, they might beat me up. They were bad guys. They were really bad guys. So they was beating up folk in the neighborhoods. They've been to prison, just all that kind of craziness.
Wow.
So I was afraid of them.
And with you saying that, it's more than likely, what kind of percentage would you think of people that's out there living right now in fear from a rapist that they see every day?
Yeah.
Because we're just talking about this, but it's at least just off the top of my head, 20, 30, 50 people in a group at any given time. That's probably...
Well, the statistics say that 2 out of every 5 men have been assaulted, molested, things of that nature.
Wow.
And 3 out of every 5 women. However, I believe those numbers are off, because those are the people that tell. Most people don't tell.
Interesting.
They just don't tell. They don't tell. And to be real honest, when we even look at it, one of the things we talk about, when we talk about molestation, sexual assault, things, there's a continuum that people can fall on, because it is molestation, or it is wrong when a parent allows their children to watch porn early.
And when you say watch porn and then early,
like a kindergartner watching porn with them. I've done sessions with parents where they said, well, I want to be the one to expose them. Well, not at 5.
That's pretty sickening if you ask me.
Well, okay, so
that's pretty sickening.
That's how you're wired.
Right.
You can't. We have no idea how other people are wired.
Right, and what goes on
in their house
homes,
and what has gone on that happened with them. So in their mind, they may feel like I'm doing something to prepare them. Whatever their thinking is. And so that's a part of the continuum, the exposure and the awakening of something that should still be laying dormant, to where the person begins to touch you inappropriately, then all the way to maybe doing something oral to you, still no penetration. And the thing about oral, let me stop right there for a minute. Sometimes people feel a certain way and don't say nothing because it was awakened early and they liked it, because your body is designed to like it.
Okay.
So if a person hasn't raped you or raped you to the point that it was an assault, to where it was violent, but coercion happens when you're convincing the person to be involved. So like in my story, my grandfather knew I liked ice cream. I love ice cream. Oh my God. Still love it. I had a scoop of ice cream in Vegas the other day at Ben and Jerry's. I'm just saying. But he went and got a scoop of ice cream on a cone. And he says, well, if you want this ice cream, you're going to have to come sit on my lap. So I was coerced. And then later you learn that there are certain things that are triggers that will bring you back to that moment or bring you back to that situation.
Okay.
So it could be something that you were eating because that was used to
lure you in.
It could be smells, the smells that happen. My grandfather was a pipe smoker and a cigar smoker. So I hate the smell of cigars and pipes.
And that brings back that memory.
Right, it takes me right there. It takes me right to that room. It just takes me right there. It just does instantly.
Okay.
And so for everyone who's gone through something, there are triggers for them. And so sometimes people don't even recognize what their triggers are. They just know that I feel funny, my stomach gets in knots, and I really don't know why, because they haven't revisited and really dealt with that memory. Because sometimes our minds are so powerful, oh my God, they can suppress the memory so that you don't access it anymore. But those triggers still will have a physical effect on you. So I remember some years ago I had a client and she could sing. Oh my gosh, she was a great singer. And one day we were just talking and I said, she said something about playing the piano. And I said, you can play? She said, yes, but I don't. And I said, why not? Her molester was her piano teacher.
Oh, so it brings back those
so
memories
sitting
again.
At the piano is a trigger for her. So she never played.
Something that she enjoyed.
That she could have enjoyed, but
right now she doesn't want to do it only because it's painful memories.
And then there may be certain sexual, what I can call them foreplay activities that people may engage in that for that person, that is a trigger. So, someone who men may, because I am a heavy-chested woman. And so generally men who like me like big chests. That's what they like. And so they want to touch on them, kiss on them, squeeze on them. I hate it.
You hate it?
I hate it because my grandfather used to pinch my nipples.
Oh.
And I hate it. So I had to get to the point that I could communicate with my partner why I don't like it.
So he can understand.
So he can understand and don't think I'm being frigid or I'm being that I don't want you. And, because I talk in my story about how I, for a long time, never felt sexy. And because I didn't feel sexy is because in my mind, what sexy was what I looked like at 14. 14, I coke powder shape. I was that thing.
Were you really? You was hot, huh?
I was hot.
You was stacked. Like a brick house.
Baby. And so
head turner.
In my mind, looking like that was what made me available to be attacked. What would make a man want to take it from me.
Okay.
And so I began to, not even consciously, but I began to do things so I would not look like that, because if I looked like that, then that might happen to me again.
And that was your guard.
Absolutely.
That was
the
your
thing
guard
I had to learn as I continued to matriculate, it didn't matter what size I was. It was always men trying to, hey girl, hey, how you doing? Hey, how you doing? Hey, I like all that chocolate. Hey. So I said, okay, so that's not working. And so then when I had the conversation with my husband, and I says, well, honey, I don't feel sexy. And he started laughing. I says, what are you laughing about? I'm sharing my truth and my honesty. He says,
Right.
if you weren't sexy, why am I always trying to have sex with you?
Right. So before you finish, everybody that's listening, you did hear her say wasman. She did not mean to say husband. I just want to let you guys know that. She can tell you what the husband means. The wasband.
Yeah, I call my husbands. I have 2 of them because they was my husband, but they're no longer my husband. I am divorced twice. So yeah, he said that to me, and it was like a bell went off. Like, well, duh, I guess that do kind of make sense. So then I really had to start working on just my whole viewpoint around my sexuality, my sensuality, all of that.
Yeah, so that childhood part did play a strong factor in a strong part in your adulthood when it came down to sex.
Absolutely.
Okay. And I guess it depends on the person. I've had conversations with female friends that just come out and they share all kinds of things with me, and some of them are more sexually active and involved and enjoy sex a lot more. And it's like, I don't know, I've been, exposed at an early age because people used to touch on me, or my mama's boyfriends, or any of those things, pretty much just like you, but it was an opposite. You were kind of hesitant with sex, whereas they...
Okay, hold on.
Huh?
I didn't say I was hesitant with sex. I didn't say that. I said there were certain things that I didn't like to have done to me.
Okay, certain things you didn't like to have done to you.
Had nothing to do with me getting it on.
So
getting
you,
it on.
You was
getting it on. I was getting it in.
You was getting it in.
I was getting it in.
So you like sex.
Oh my God. Oh my God. It's a God. God loves me. He loves me so much.
Oh,
that
man.
He created that. Oh my God.
You talking my language
Oh
now.
my God.
You talking about some sex.
And let me tell you this.
Huh?
I say this since we going here. I'm gonna go all the way here.
Yeah.
Women have something that men don't have.
Well, what you got?
We have a clitoris.
Oh wow.
And
we talking good now.
The only purpose
Let's hear it.
is pleasure. Men don't have anything on their body that the only thing that is for is pleasure. It do multiple things, but the clitoris, the CC, as I call her, she's CC. CC's only purpose is pleasure.
So how do you get the pleasure?
How do you get the pleasure?
Yeah.
There's so many different things that you can do to get the
You
pleasure.
explore all that?
Of course you do. You have to.
No, you explore all that.
Yeah.
You done all that.
Yeah, I know me.
You
Look,
open.
Let me say this. I tell people this all the time.
I'm
You
listening.
got to absolutely know yourself, because people say stuff like, "Well, how do you teach somebody what you like if you don't know what you like? How do you tell them? How do you give them?" So, one of my favorite questions that my husband used to ask me. Oh my God, I love this question. He used to say, "What do you want me to do now?" Well, let me tell you. Something.
Yeah, let's listen. I'm listening.
Let me tell you what I like. Oh my God, it is such a great thing to have a satisfying sex life.
Oh yeah.
And what's sad is that there's so many people that don't have a satisfying sex life.
Oh, tell me about it.
They are married and they stop doing. I don't even know. That don't make no sense to me. It just don't make no sense to me. Now you got a license and paper saying that you can do it wwhenever you want to do it, and then you stop doing it.
That's crazy. That's insane.
I used to call my husband. I said, "Where you at?" Because I used to have an office. I had an office building, and I would go. I owned the building, so I would be like, "Ain't nobody gonna be here. Where you at?"
Dr. Sabrina.
Come on over here.
You was a little naughty.
Come on over here. Let me clear the desk off. Let's, child. Life is supposed to be lived, and trust and believe I'm living it. So I'm gonna say this: I believe I'm like I am because my parents really had a very healthy, compassionate, flirty type of relationship. And they were married for 45 years, and so the people, the women in my life, the elders, the seasoned women, taught me some things. And so one of the elder women of my life was the late great Dr. Marjorie Harris, who was the former president of Lewis College of Business. She was like another mother to me. And so one day I went to pick her up to take her someplace. And when I got there, she was taking a platter of food up to her husband. And I said, when she got in the car, I said, "So do you take him his food on a platter every day?" She says, "Oh, yes." She was so regal. She was like, "Oh, yes. I've learned the secret of a good marriage." And I said, "Oh, well, what?" She says, "You keep your man well fed." Those were her words. And I said, because I'm like this, I'm so inquisitive, I would say, "Oh, she opened the door, so I'm going to run through." So I said, "So y'all," because they were in their like 70s at the time. And I said, "So y'all still do it?" She said, "Not like you young people, about once a week." I was like, "Dang, she getting it more than I do." What? Really? Oh. But my parents were very flirtatious. And I remember my mother got her knees replaced, both her knees replaced the same week. She had one done on Monday and the second one done on Thursday. And so when she was healing, she was going through rehab. I was like, "Well, Mom, why did you get your knees both done?" She said, "Child, I needed my knees in good working order because sometimes your father requires me on them." Who talks like that? I was like, that's way too much information.
She was keeping it real.
My mother, so did God rest their souls. Oh my God, they were. I remember we would go on family trips, and my daddy's favorite song, one of his favorite songs, was "Stroking." That's what I be doing. And we in the car, and he got it blessed. And I said, "This is not wholesome family entertainment." He said, "Oh, y'all grown. So look, if you ain't stroking, you need to be." So, yeah, we had that type of freedom and liberty. And watching that, I tell people all the time, I wrote a book called "He's Not a Statistic, 12 Laws for Single Mothers Raising Black Males." And one of the things I talk about in the book is being an example of real life.
Okay.
Because I think so many women, when they become single, for whatever reason, they may become single from divorce. They may have lost their mate to death or something, that they say, "I'm just going to be a parent." Well, you're more than a parent. And then how do your children know how to date if they never see it?
Okay.
How
Makes
do they
sense.
know how to have that level of connection with someone? And so I just made it my business that I was not going to hide that from my son. So he saw me date. He saw someone come to pick me up, bring me flowers. Yes, I still like flowers, pretty ones. I'm still a girl.
Yeah.
Treat me like one. Okay. Anyway, and then take me out, drop me off at home. No, they can't spend the night, ladies, with your children. I'm just saying.
When the children is away.
Well, that's different, but I'm saying when the children are there, because all closed eyes ain't sleep.
I know mine wasn't as a child.
And mine wasn't either. And neither was my son. My son would be like, "Oh, he coming. How long he stay?" Because, they may drop me off and he come in and we may be watching TV. My son, "Well, what? How long he staying?" "It's sleep time." That was my son's favorite word. "It's sleep time. And he's still here doing sleep time?" So I had to be mindful of that. And so a lot of people ask me that question: when is the appropriate time to introduce someone new to your child and things of that nature? And for each situation, it's really different. But you really do want to model what it's like to have that part of your life, an active part of your life, not being hoish, but just courting and dating. Because I call dating collecting data.
Yeah, you got your representative stages. Then you got the true color stages.
Well, all of that is still, you need to, if you're going to be connecting with the person, what does that look like? What does that feel like? Does the person make you laugh? Does the person cause you irritation? And while you're figuring that out, your children get to see what that looks like. So one of the things my son said to me that is, I mean, he says a lot of things to me that just, blows my wig back. But he says, when I was married to my second husband, that was my son's stepfather. And one day he said to me, because his father had remarried as well, he says, I really want a relationship with you and my stepdad. I says, why? He says, because y'all act like y'all like each other. Y'all laugh and giggle and play. My dad and his wife, they don't act like they like each other. I don't never see them happy or smiling or playing. And my parents were very playful and flirty, and I saw that. And so I want that in my life. I want to laugh much more than I frown.
That's a good thing. So what do you do when the relationship shifts and changes? And what I mean by shifts and changes, it's like the fire is going out.
Okay, let me say this.
How does the fire is going out?
But let me tell you, if the fire is going out, you have to be intentional. No, but when you set a fire, you don't just wait for a fire to ignite. Because if you wait for a fire to ignite, that's going to be an accidental fire, and you're going to be trying to put that out. You get me? If something happened, we sitting here and a fire just erupted, we're going to try and put it out because it's not intended to be a fire at that moment. Fire that you need is intentional. Okay. So when you go on a camping trip, if you need fire, you purposefully set a fire. So in order for your relationship to have fire, you have to be intentional to make the fire. You have to be intentional about learning something new and doing something different, because that's what happens in relationships. You get complacent. I remember a comedian that was saying that him and his wife he'd be like, whose is it? And she'd be like, it's yours. You just get tired of the same old, same old. Yeah. So what things are you doing to keep the fire burning or to ignite the fire again? Because the one thing I say this thing about relationships. All relationships require work, and work is an acronym. The W is the willingness to learn something different, because as long as you continue to grow and matriculate, we change. The things I liked at 25 are not the things I like at 55. I'm just saying. Mm-hmm. So because I'm changing, I have to have someone with me that's willing to do the work to understand that the change is there. The O is to look for opportunities to share, opportunities to laugh, opportunities to grow, and there are going to be opportunities all the time. The R is that you have a responsibility, not just to yourself, but to somebody else. And because you have a responsibility to someone else, because you've chosen to be in this relationship, this is the other thing about it. That's a choice that you made. And if you made the choice to be in the relationship, be willing to do the work. So you no longer belong to just you. So if it's something, my mother taught me such a valuable lesson. There were certain things that my daddy just liked, and my mother did them because he liked them. One of the things is my daddy loved fishnet pantyhose. He loved them. And so she would go and buy her. She would always have a supply of fishnets, because when they go out, when she's getting dressed, she would put on a fresh pair of fishnets. So the day my father passed before my mother did. So the day of the funeral, for my father's funeral, we were helping her get dressed, and she said, "Oh, go up in the top and get me a fresh pair of fishnets." I said, "You wearing fishnets?" She said, "I'm wearing them one last time for your daddy." Oh my God, that's so powerful.
Right, as she should. That was beautiful.
It was beautiful. And then the K in work is to understand knowledge. You got to have knowledge about your mate. You got to study them like you study in a course. You got to pay attention to what they say. You got to pay attention to what they like. And if you really like them, you're going to give them what they want.
I know people in relationships that don't even know what's going on in their mate's life. That's I've seen people tell me just general conversation that my wife, my husband, my boyfriend, my girlfriend, he doesn't even pay attention to me, doesn't even know this, that. And some stranger noticed something and spotted it out, only for my mate to look and say, oh
yeah.
wow.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. That's sad.
It is.
When a person doesn't pay that much attention to their mate.
Well, one of the things that I say is that you really have to be honest with yourself about what you want and what you don't want going in. So there were some things that, and I think that women have this. I don't know if men have this, but women have this because women are taught that, you know, we want the marriage and the engagement. So women will get so excited about getting the ring that the person giving the ring really ain't the person.
I believe that.
But the ring's so nice that your eyes done got all, you know,
big.
You know how you say when you go to the buffet, you was like, my eyes was way bigger than my stomach. Your eyes is on that ring and not on the relationship.
Right. I just want to be married to say I'm married.
Yeah. To say somebody, it's a wonderful thing for somebody to want you, but you got to want them too.
Correct.
And you can't just want the ring. You can't just want the money. You can't just want the status, because when all of those are closed, you got to live with that person. You got to be able to enjoy the company of that person. I want someone that I like. I need to like you. Mm-hmm. Not just love you, but I need to like you. I need to, when something's going on with me, I want to get excited about calling you and telling you. And I want to feel like when I'm excited, it gets you excited. But if I feel like I'm telling you something and they go, okay, yeah, tell me that later. That's not going to make me feel like you the person I want to be around. I want to be around somebody who just
got the same energy, the same drive, the same passion, wants to hear your excitement, all of that good stuff.
And it doesn't have to be just like mine. That's the other thing that people make the mistake, because my parents were very different. My father was very serious. He was very, almost like military-ish, and my mother was free spirit and danced all the time. But they connected on a level that they just got each other. And I always say that's in my prayer book about my mate, the mate that I'm trying to manifest, because I believe you manifest what you think. So I want someone who just gets me, that I don't have to not be me. That being me is what they get, and that's what they like. That they not trying to change me. They not going, oh my God, you travel all the time. I don't want nobody to travel. Well, then you don't want me.
You don't want you.
You don't want me if you don't want somebody that travel all the time. Because I got off a plane this morning
and came to see Lavish.
I did. I did.
So, how important is sex in a relationship? How can that be a deal breaker?
It should be.
I agree. I asked that because some people say it shouldn't matter.
No, it should matter.
It should.
This is the other thing about sex. Sex is a part of bonding in the relationship. You need to bond with your mate. Intimacy is not just getting it in. Intimacy is into me. I allow you to see. Okay. So you think about pillow talk, and you think about when you are close to somebody and you crawl in the bed with them and you're snuggling and you're sharing your thoughts and your dreams and your visions. It's nothing like that. And then you could roll over and get some too.
I think sex is very important. I think lack of sex in a relationship is a deal breaker for me.
Well, sex is beneficial physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually.
Now, what if you're in a relationship to the point where your mate doesn't give you sex?
Okay.
And from lack of sex and being told no, you start getting to a point where you stop finding your mate as attractive sexually. And I say that not because you're not feeling that person. It's because
you keep getting turned off.
I keep you keep getting told no. You done
squished my fire. My fire is lit, and you're not satisfying my fire.
How do you build that up? you done turned me. You done turned the individual down
But this
so
is
much.
The thing. This is one of the things that I tell couples.
Okay.
Is that you need to have what I call table talk. And table talk is when you come to the table and you lay out your honesty and resolve it. You can't leave the table till it's resolved. So sometimes the person who may not be feeling having sex may have a reason for it. They may have something that has occurred, like a lot of women, especially when women have babies. Oh my God. Do you know what happens to a woman when she has a baby?
I know. I've seen.
Oh my God! And then this whole postpartum depression thing is real. That's not something that people playing with. When I was so depressed and sad after I had my son.
A lot of men like women even more after they have children.
I know. Okay, that's y'all.
We think you look even
That's
better,
wonderful.
body banging,
Yes,
everything in
but
a groove.
Yep. Guess
you
what
like,
though?
whoa.
But guess what? A big old 8-pound, 6-ounce baby has been pushed out of me, and he tore me from my rooter to my tutor. So I promise you, I really thought that it didn't work anymore. I did. I really did. I was like, oh no. And so I would stay at my mother's house real late every night until I knew my husband at the time was asleep.
Women good at doing that.
So I could slide in the bed and go on to sleep. And then finally one day my mother, maybe about 4 weeks after my appointment with that said I could, get busy again. And because they do release you, especially if you had stitches. I had stitches. And so my mother looked at me and she said, oh, girl, go home and give your husband some. It worked. I said, no such a thing. No such a thing.
You and your mom had a nice relationship.
Oh, yeah. She was like, go, girl, go ahead. Go and get a boy some. I said, it don't work no more. It's going to hurt. It's going to hurt. But it's so many different reasons. And even with men, because a lot of times men think it's always women who get to the point that they are no longer interested in sex. But you know what happens? As women get older, their libido increases.
Go straight through the
while
roof.
men's are decreasing. So I have had situations where the man has been, I don't feel like it.
You ready to go?
And I'm like, oh, what you could do?
An animal. You're a savage.
So I found out that as women, mature and they have hormonal issues, men do too. So men's testosterone can decrease. And when it decreases, it causes their desire to wane. Just the desire to do it is gone. So it's not that they can't perform, because a lot of women do worry about, do your parts work, sir? You on medicine? What's going on? You need Cialis? What you need? What we doing here? What we doing? Viagra. It's all kind of different, things. What you doing? So, but you have to have the discussions, especially when you get grown. I'm 55. I'm grown, real grown.
Inactive.
So I want no. I'm not married, sir.
Okay, Reverend.
Thank you. I am an evangelist in the good old Church of God in Christ. Okay, so anyway. But I do think that is a discussion that should be had if I'm dating and collecting data.
We got someone asked, what about sex outside of relationships? That's cheating.
Okay, so no, let me say this.
You said no?
Nope. It may not be, because it depends on what the two people have agreed on. Now, this is the thing that makes it cheating.
Okay.
It's cheating when both parties aren't aware.
All right.
So if I'm with you and I said that I'm in a committed relationship with you and we've decided together that we are committed to each other, then you go out and step out and I don't know, that's cheating. However, if we are in a relationship, because this is what some people do, this is how they get down, and that's their choice and that's their business because they grown. So they decide, you know what, let's have an open relationship, because I like variety. And because I like variety, I'm going to want some. And so I believe honesty is always the best policy. But people say things like, you can't handle the truth. No, I can handle the truth if you give me the truth. What I can't handle is when you done lied and now I done found out. Because this is what I tell people. If you have a connection to God God is never going to allow me to stay in a space where I'm unaware. It is going to come out. I'm going to find out. And I ain't got to snoop for it. I ain't got to look for it. I ain't got to go through your wallet or go through your Instagram. But if I am in a committed relationship with you, and that's what we've decided, this is the other thing. Don't be in a committed relationship where you done decided you committed, but the other person don't know they committed. Because people do that too. We done been out. I done spent this kind of money, so now she mad. No, y'all ain't had the discussion. People don't talk. You gotta talk.
Yeah, that you cracking me up over here.
I'm just saying, you gotta have a conversation. And then there's so many different lifestyles that people are in. There are people who are swingers. There are people who they have open relationships. There are people who live a polyamorous lifestyle where they have mates. All 3 or 4 of them all live together, they sleep together, all that kind of stuff. So people do all kind of stuff. And that is a person's right and choice. I cannot stuff my values down your throat.
Right.
But I don't let you stuff your values down mine either. But the only way that we're going to be clear about it is if we have a communication about it.
Okay. So in a relationship, men, because you discussed this before, men are also abused.
Absolutely.
People don't talk about that part. I mean, a lot of the media, when you hear abuse, when you hear domestic disputes and relationship abuse, you hear about the women. Why is that?
Men don't want to talk, because if men come out and say that she hit me, she abused me, she took it. Because men, I know men who say this all the time. I don't believe that a man can be raped. Really? He can't.
I never had a woman try it on me.
I'm just saying.
You
open to it? Now see, you just nasty now.
I've never had a woman try to rape me. I'm just putting it out there.
Okay, well there are women that. But I remember I had a show. A guy was a police officer, and his wife was a very tiny. And oftentimes these women who are abusive, they tiny little women. And what she would do is, she didn't want him to go someplace. She would jump on him and scratch his face up.
Wow.
Because once he saw scratched up, he wouldn't want to go out. He wouldn't want to do anything. And so she was extremely abusive to him, and he was a police officer. And so he really felt like, I can't tell. He was a big guy, like 6'1", and he stayed with her for years and dealt with that for years until he finally went to counseling himself and dealt with that and start to tell his story. And so there are men that are now beginning to tell their story, that it's okay to tell that, yes, I was abused. I know a lot of football players, a lot of people who are athletes, because they know they have these contracts and they don't want to lose the contract. And the women are the controlling ones in the relationship. They will slap them. I remember Any Given Sunday. Remember that movie?
I remember that movie.
And the white guy who was the player, his wife, he said he was going to retire. He said, well, I'm tired. I'm ready to retire. And she slapped the bejesus out of him. You ain't retiring because you're not messing up my flow up in here. So, yeah, there are men who are abused, yes.
Wow, that's interesting. I'm glad you brought that up. I'm glad I thought about that, because I wanted to be out there. I want people to know that men do get abused. They also get verbally abused. How do you deal with that nowadays? I mean, it goes back and forth. You have men, you have women. They say a lot of things in an argument, but it seems like now women, and it's going to go into something else. Women, they seem to have the words to hit below the belt and also try to describe a man's role. What makes a man and what is a man? How do you kind of equate all of that in today's society, where a woman feels as this is what a man is, in the mouth that goes along with it?
Well, the first thing is that many of us look for relationships based on the examples that we've seen. So people do what they've seen. Okay. So a lot of people have seen where the woman might have berated her husband or her mate, and they think that that's what you do. And so now that's what I do, because I'm going to be bigger and better than the person before me. And then sometimes, because we have to understand that because I've had this discussion with one the other day about women who are powerful women who are bosses in the workplace, bosses on their jobs, the Oprah Winfreys of the world, the Beyoncés, the J-Los, those type of women who command attention. They command a major purse. They're bosses at what they're doing. So how do you turn that off?
Right.
When you come home? Sometimes they don't turn it off when they come home. They don't know how. And so that's why it's so important to have discussions about who's going to do what, because I know women who, because they do make the most money and they travel all the time and they do that they have a more male role in the relationship. Yeah. And the man stays home and takes care of the children and does the daycare and things of that nature. And I have a very good friend. We grew up in church together, and his wife is a boss in the car world. She's got a really, really, really nice job. And so they made the decision as a couple.
Okay.
They wanted to make sure that their children, they had twin daughters. They wanted to make sure that one of them was hands-on with the girls. And so he chose to do that. He said for a minute, it was making him feel some kind of way.
Okay.
But then he's looked at how his daughters are thriving, how their household works. And so you have to do and develop what's going to work for you, and stop looking outside of you to determine what's going to work for you.
Yeah, because like you get a lot of people that focuses on everybody else's relationship and try to bring everybody else's relationship into your relationship, as far as, well, this worked for them. They did that. They do this. Why you don't do that?
You can't do it that way. You can't. You have to first understand what you need. And then the person that you're with, you have to communicate to them what your needs are, why you need it. And then this is the other thing. The biggest thing in communication is never talking. It's always listening. Okay. Listening is a skill set where hearing is a bodily function. I can hear you, but that don't mean I'm listening. And so oftentimes people listen just to the point that they're ready for their rebuttal. And so when they're ready for their rebuttal, they stop listening and they start preparing their rebuttal, or they'll cut the person off and don't let the person finish. Listening means that you actually listen for understanding. And the first thing that you do after you listen is not give your rebuttal, but to tell the person, is this really what I heard? Now, this is what I heard you say. That part of active listening is very powerful, but most people don't do it. Because sometimes you done heard something that ain't what they said.
That's very true. Now I want to talk about, because you're the people expert. You're the expert with the people. Emotions. How do people deal with emotions? And when I talk about emotions, I'm not speaking just solely in relationships. I'm speaking on life in general. Emotions.
Well, the first thing is that there are 5 reasons why people fail at anything that they do. The first is coachability. And coachability is seen when you lack the ability to take feedback from your spouse, from your children, from your coworkers, from your friends, from the people around you. How do you get better if can't nobody tell you nothing? And at the end of the day, when people get grown, they don't want nobody to tell them nothing. But we're all on a path where we can get better. And so we have to take feedback. The second reason is emotional intelligence. And emotional intelligence, when people lack the ability to control and manage their own emotions, or to accurately assess the emotions of others. So you can be in the workplace and have an emotional outbreak, or you done push people till you done push them over the edge. So emotions are very important, that you learn how to control yours. I am the type of person that I say I self-police. I don't let people get me off my square. The one thing you'll never see me out in the world, in the public, cussing somebody out. Because it ain't in me. That's just not what I do, and I choose not to do that. Does it mean that people can't get me irritated? Absolutely. But do I have to act on that irritation to the point that I begin to look out of character? I look like a monster. I was at the airport last night, and the ladies start to cuss. They get on my effing nerves. And I'm like, And then you turn around, what's going on? You know, I don't want to be that person. And so I choose to keep my emotions under tag. I don't let people get me off my square. The last time I was really, really angry, and I ask people this all the time in training, when was the last time you were very, very angry? Lavish, that's your question.
I'm angry a lot.
Really?
Yeah, I'm angry a lot. I'm angry because a driver might screwed up one of my tow trucks. Cost me money. I'm angry a lot because something is out of place.
So would you consider yourself a controlling person?
No, I consider myself a person that just, if you do what you're supposed to do.
Guess what that is?
What's that?
Controlling.
You think so?
I know so.
Okay.
Let me tell you why.
Well, I'm controlling.
Yep.
I want you to park this truck where it's supposed to be parked at, because that's the designated spot. I want you to do your job.
So this is the other thing. Let me ask this question. How is your training with the people that you hire?
Very great and extensive. I make sure I show them the proper way to do everything around towing and recovery, so that they don't have to guess when they're out in the field. They know what to do, and I show them 100% the proper way.
And then do you document it?
Do I document it? I do not.
Okay, so let me help you with something.
Help me with it. Hit me with it.
One of the things that's important about training is that you have to create a system. And from what I'm hearing, you have a system, but the system is not documented. And people will always push up against what they don't have documented. We have to learn how to document. So it's like this. I'm a speaker. So I train other speakers. And so I have a public speaking observation list. So when I'm observing you speak, I'm looking and I'm checking and I'm checking and I'm checking. And I never tell them ahead of time what I'm looking for. I want to see if you do it on your own. Because now I have a place to start that says, so like after you've done your training, you should have a list of things that they should know. And then you should sit back quietly and don't say a word and just assess.
Now, I will say this. I don't have a list, but I have a list. I have a documented inspection checklist. I'm not there to watch them, but before they get in the trucks, they're supposed to go down the list, check the oil, check all the fluids, the tires,
but that's
the windshield.
but that's not the same thing.
It's not the same, okay.
It's not the same because the inspection of the truck and all that kind of stuff, that's one thing. But where to park the truck, all the stuff you get mad about?
Part of that is that inspection.
Okay.
Part of that, because if, like you said, you pay attention, I would see a tire that looked like it's about to pop. And I will go back on the checklist. And I would wonder and say, why wasn't I notified? Because I'll get a notification that says, Lavish, the driver's side inner tire needs to be replaced. So when they call and they say, hey, I just had a blowout. In my mind, I'm like, well, did you know the tire was about to blow? No. Now I'm mad because you had to fail your inspection. I seen this tire was bowed yesterday, 2 days ago. I didn't say anything. I just waited to see when you were going to say something. Now you had a blowout. Although I'm going to pay for it either way, but it's an inconvenience of something that you were supposed to have done by doing your job.
The number 3 reason why people fail is motivation. They have to be motivated to do what it is that they're doing. And oftentimes people think that the motivation is money, and no, that ain't the end all be all, because you have to have something in you that says, I'm bringing my A game to every game. And so when you interview people, when you get people, I ask the first question I ask is, what am I getting when I get you?
Okay.
I ask that question. And they'll go, oh, you need to break that down a little for me. What am I getting when I get you? Am I getting somebody that just want a paycheck? Am I getting somebody that has dreams and visions and aspirations? Because I want to know what theirs are.
Okay.
Because if I can help them, they'll be better for me. Because when we look at a return on our investment as a business owner, I want people that have a fire in them.
Right.
That they they want something out of life, that they don't just, I don't, she always got something new to do. Yeah. That's how I make my money.
Correct.
Fool. No. The fourth reason why people fail is temperament type, the personality to do the job. So oftentimes people will hire for the position, but not hire for the work environment. So
Okay.
I say, have you ever know that there's teachers who are teachers, but they don't like kids?
I see that a lot.
Please stop working with kids. Or you the usher in your church and you don't like people. You ain't never smile.
I seen that too.
You doing towing and recovery, but you don't like working with your hands. So there's assessments that can be done up front that'll tell you the type of person that you're dealing with ahead of time. So it'll help you with some of those things that are causing you difficulty, because you know that they're wired differently.
Correct.
And when you know they're wired differently, then how you instruct them becomes different. The last is the technical skill sets of a thing. And so what I find in the workplace, people train in number 5. But that's the last reason people fail. When was the last time you got a training that tells you how to receive feedback gracefully? Most people never have, because in the workplace, they train you on how to give feedback. They teach you how to supervise, but they don't teach you how to be supervised.
Okay. That's good information.
I try.
That's
That's why they call me the people expert.
I see.
I help people with people, even if that person is themselves.
So what are your 7 R's? The 7 R's. What are those?
Which R's for what?
How many different acronyms do you have?
I got tons of them.
I seen that.
I got tons of them. You just can't throw. What's the 7 R's? The 7 R's of what? I don't
I won't pass that one up because you got so many. I seen
know what he's
the
talking
7
about.
R's in the past interview. I didn't know that. I should have noted.
Yep,
that.
you should have said
I
what the
didn't know you
interview
had
was. But
that
I don't
many.
even know what we talking about.
Okay, we're gonna pass. Heal. You spoke on that recently.
Heal.
Let's talk on the heal.
Heal. Okay, so everyone needs to heal. It's something that we need to heal from. In order to heal, healing is helping everyone affirm life.
Okay.
Because when you're dealing with loss and depression and sadness, you get stuck in that dark place. In order to move out of the dark space, you got to shine a light. And sometimes the very thing that's light is something that brings you joy. So you have to do life-affirming things, because that's the thing that's going to give you the strength to rise up and get over and get past the difficult spaces. So especially during this time of COVID and the losses that we've had. And when I say loss, I don't just mean the loss of life. Loss of life is very, very powerful. But we've lost routine. And the loss of routine is major, because you think about what you used to do every day. You don't do that no more.
Not at all. Everything is the way we live in is totally different.
I remember when we were on the lockdown and we couldn't go out to eat at all. I kept saying, I didn't realize how much I wanted somebody to sit me down and ask me, would you like some coffee? Yes! I could not wait to sit down and somebody, would you like a little tea?
It seemed foreign once we were able to.
God, thank you. Yes. Yes. And then everything changed, like how they serve you, what you could do. And so all of that has a sense of loss to it. And how you deal with that loss is so important. So affirming life things is so important. So I always tell people they need to identify things that bring them joy and do them on purpose. And so things that bring you joy are moments of levity. What things make you laugh? When was the last time you giggled?
Mm-hmm.
What's the last time? That's your question.
I laugh. I laugh every day.
To the point of giggling?
Yes. And the reason for it, some of the things that I lived through and I've been around, at one point in my life, everything was just so serious. It was just serious. I had cousins and relatives used to tell me, man, can you relax? Can you not be so serious about everything? You don't never smile. Everything, we can't crack a joke with you because you always uptight. You always, and I never seen it. I thought I was fine, but they could see it. And throughout the different life experiences and things and the death of people, I shifted away from certain environments. And those people that was always laughing and always had fun, it was something new to me because I was over here in this box where it was like, you can't laugh and have fun because now they won't take you serious. They think you weak. So it was always being a tough guy. So it's like, yeah, it's funny, but I'm not gonna laugh. But yeah, that was funny. Until I started talking to different people, hearing their life experiences, and like, wow, that seemed like it was fun. So I got to a point where I stopped taking life so serious.
Oh my God.
I started enjoying everything.
You got to enjoy. So the scriptures are very clear. Scripture says laughter is likened to a medicine. So I'd rather have medicine that's funny than medicine that's bitter.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I laugh hysterically all the time. And so I tell people this. I tell people this in training sometimes when they talk about dealing with difficulties in the workplace and stress. I say, well, what do you do if your boss is getting you mad and so your coworker is getting you mad? Have a moment that you can close your eyes and think about the last time that you giggled. Whatever made you giggle will make you laugh again.
It will. It will.
There
I
are
agree.
certain things that are just funny. And I have things that I laugh at from middle school that are still funny to me.
Yeah.
Because when I was in middle school, I went to Beaubien Middle School. When I went to Beaubien, in my class, we had 2 class clowns. And they found out one day that when I laugh real hard, I cry. Oh, my God. They decided every single day which one of them were going to make me cry. It was a contest. Which was going to make me cry first. When I say I laughed hysterically in middle school, oh, my God, there were so many jokes that were hilarious to me then, and they're hilarious to me now. When I think about them now, I still laugh. So I believe in levity. And the very times where we feel like we need to be serious, like when we have loss, and we think that, oh, I can't laugh. You think about when families were able to get together after their grandmother passed. You get together and you think about it, you remember good times.
Different
and you
times.
Laugh. And so I remember when my brother passed, we were his kids and my son. We were all sitting around because when my brother passed, it was such a shock because he passed literally 29 days after my father passed, and so it was just. We were just stunned. And so we were just kind of sitting around thinking and talking about him and stuff he had said. And we got to laughing hysterically. And that lifts you. It gives you strength. And we need that. And so we think about these times that we're dealing with the racial injustices. We think about all the things that's happening in the world. But in order for us to really get strength to fight another day, we need to build that strength, and that's having moments of levity because it's healing. We need that. We need that healing. So I laugh. Oh, my God. And I love, like, comedians. I listen to Pandora, and I put on my favorite comedians, and then they just play different comedians, clips of comedians like them. I do that every day.
So my laughter, because I get some people that get irritated when I laugh, and it makes me laugh even more because they're irritated by it. And they say, you're always laughing. You think everything is funny. But the way I look at it is, if you knew where I came from, if you knew the things that I've done, if you knew the things that I've seen, you have to program yourself not to take life so serious. And I mean, life is serious, but you have to know how not to take it so serious and to breathe, to laugh, because it could be worse. And that's my motto. It could be worse.
Well, I look at the fact, you think about our ancestors and the things that they went through and during Jim Crow or during slavery. One of the things that they did is that they had music and they would sing. And all the songs were nobody. Everybody, all the songs weren't sad songs. They were dancing.
They had their melodies.
They had their melodies. And so we need that.
Yeah.
And so whenever I find, because I've had people say to me, Sabrina, you always upbeat. You always this. It don't take all of that. It don't take all of that for you. But I will not allow a person to dictate what I do with my space because God gave it to me. And I am going to rule the box that I occupy. Oh, trust and believe I'm handling this box over here. And of course, you're supposed to have wise counsel. You're supposed to, when you're making decisions and when you're doing things, to get input from wise counsel. Scripture tells us that we're supposed to. But I don't take the counsel's iterations as the final authority. The final authority is mine.
Right. With the laughter side and the happiness, why is everybody so angry nowadays?
Well, they've been through some stuff. COVID was first of all, just think about when we started. When this first started and they said that we're going to be off for 2 weeks. You're going to have to stay home for 2 weeks. They're going to shut down life for 2 weeks. No one had a clue that we would be a year in. We're a year in.
That's true.
And so now think about the families that you had. I'm married to you. I like you, but I like you during this time and this time. But now you here all the time, and I'm looking up, and you're still in my face. And I don't know how to do that. And so people are irritated. They're agitated. Their parents have had to be teachers and nurses. And, yeah, that's heavy work. That's heavy lifting. So, yeah, that's why people are irritated and agitated. And they don't know how to, on purpose, have moments of joy. So I've talked to families about having game night, having movies that they watch that's funny. I remember when Coming to America 2 came out. It was a moment of levity. And we needed a moment of levity. And so people were fussing about it. And I said, why y'all taking it that serious? It's 30 years from the last one.
Right.
They can't do the same thing. It's 30 years different.
You're going to watch the movie, you're going to enjoy it, or you're not.
It was some funny parts for me.
Okay.
Like I didn't know that there were washers for the women. Hello.
Washes.
Yeah, the world wash. You remember they had the people that bathed the men, the little women that followed behind them and had
I haven't seen the movie.
Oh, well, in the first, you see the first one?
I seen the first one.
So remember he had the women who threw the.
Yeah.
And they would bathe them. Remember because the father says, "Are you enjoying the bathers? Are you enjoying your bath?" So I kind of like that. Well, in the part 2, one of the women had a bather.
Right.
Yes. That was my favorite part to the whole movie.
Wow.
Hey.
Okay, so to be uplifting, because now we're talking about some positivity, because I know you probably got other things to do. I'm going to try to keep you here as long as I can. Just want you to know that.
I'm good.
Okay. What are we doing to uplift people and motivate them in the business world? Small business owners, entrepreneurs out there, people who's living in a world where their circle, their friends, their environment, they're not as supportive. And what I mean by that is you have individuals out here that might pitch an idea. I might say, Dr. Sabrina, you know what? I really want to start a towing company, and I got all these plans, and I got a vision, and my goals and my dreams, my ambitions is this. And then you had these naysayers.
Okay, so first of all, you have to, one, understand when you're a visionary, you're likened to an eagle. Eagles can see an animal the size of a rabbit a mile away. A pigeon can't do that. Stop asking pigeons what an eagle should do.
Okay.
Because they can't see your vision. So you need to surround yourself with people who are like-minded. And sometimes the way to do that is not by your family and friends. You don't get to choose your family, but you do get to choose your circle.
Okay.
And so when you're at a point that you want to be elevated, that you want to do bigger and better things, you have to elevate your circle. You have to elevate the people that's around you. And one of the ways to do that is to join industry associations, because like-minded people gather together. So I remember as a speaker, when the first time that I went to a meeting of the National Speakers Association, I was like, oh my God, these are my people. They were like, I was like, oh my God, they're speaking my language. It was stuff that they were saying that I couldn't even share with my friends because they didn't get it.
Mm-hmm.
And soon as I got in that room, I was like, these are my people. You got to find your people. And there are people who will help you, who will give you insights and opportunities. I remember when I wrote my book, He's Not a Statistic. At first, the title was going to be 12 Laws for Single Mothers Raising Black Men. And I went to a meeting of the National Speakers Association, and the guy at that time who was the guru of self-publishing was our speaker. And we were talking about, we got to share like what our titles were of our books. And when he heard my title, he says, change the title. And I said, why? He says, because it'll confuse the people when you start your title with a number on where to file it when they're putting it on the shelf.
Okay.
So either it's going to be at the beginning of the alphabet or it's going to be at the end of the alphabet. But if a person goes in looking for it and it starts with a letter, they know exactly where to go to find it. That was precious information.
Right.
I would have never known that just asking my friends.
Very true. And it seemed like sometimes your friends,
they get jealous.
That you took the words out of my mouth. They don't want to see you. And I can speak for myself, and I can speak for other conversations that I had. It seems as the more you progress, when you progress and you're going in a different direction other than your friends, and you don't even change who you are. You're the same person to them that you always been. It's just that you change the way that you move because of your business. You're always singled out to be, he or she thinks they're too good.
Okay,
they
so let
think
me say
they're
this.
better.
Let me say this. And this is so good. This is one of my favorite things to talk about. Because the word tells you ahead of time that you're always going to have haters. Because the word tells you this, that God prepares a table for you in the presence of your enemies. Presence means proximity. Proximity means you got to be at my table to see my table. That's why they're close. That's why they're friends and families, because the word done told you. They're at your table. They see what's going on with you. They can see it. They're close. Now, the word goes on and says something very profound, which I love. It says, and your cup runneth over. Your cup never runs over for you. Because if you gave me a cup and we started to pour water in the cup and the cup started to overfill, the first thing I'm going to do is move the cup and stop you from pouring. Because I'm never going to lick the table where the water spilled, and I'm never going to lick the side of the cup. So that ain't for me. What's for me is inside my cup. However, the spillage, the overage is to bless the people that's at my table. So even if you hate on me, you better because you know me. You are better because you know me, because I am giving you an example of something that you may not even thought about, that now you have an example of it. And you may not like it, but you see it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so I have to be careful on who I share my visions with. So that's why I don't even do a vision board. Because if I do a vision board, that means I have to hang it. When you come in my space, you can see my vision. You can hate on it. You can put negativity towards it. So I created a vision book. And so you can buy them. I have them. They're for sale. But I have a vision book, and it's big. And because I always says, what if I create a vision today and tomorrow God give me another vision? I got to do a whole new board.
Mm-hmm.
Nope, I just turn the page and do another page. And then I talk about the 12 major areas of life that you should have a vision in each of the 12 areas. Most people don't, but so, yeah.
Oh, that's great. And it's all right to change how you deal with your friends.
Absolutely, you have to.
You know, and I say that I learned over the years, I have friends that came to me and they said, it was something different about you. That's why we never treated you the same way. Not in a negative way.
Mm-hmm.
When we went to go do certain stuff,
You couldn't go.
You wasn't like us.
Right.
And we knew that. So we just never,
Thank you.
wanted you to, be, and it is a blessing because now it's like, wow, especially now in my life, I'm like, man, and they're like, yeah, man, we knew that you were going to be one of the ones that was going to do something. Although you had to bump your head, we knew that you were going to be the one. You was going to be the one that was going to go further. You were going to be the one that was going to do something with your life, even when you didn't see it, just certain things you did, the way that you behaved. That's why we treated you different. But on the flip side, you have some people that treat you different in a negative way. They don't like you.
Okay, so
they want to see you fail.
You know why I tell people this? Sometimes the light that's inside of you, because you're an illuminator. When you are an illuminator and you bring light into a space, your light exposes other people's darkness. And they don't like the way that feels. So it's something about you that says there's something inadequate in me. When I see you, it says I haven't done something. When I see you, it says I'm lacking. When I see you, oh, I ain't did that. When I see you, so now they don't like you. Because you are exposing and bringing up for them the things in them that they're not dealing with.
Yeah. I can go on and on about it just because I'm a living example of it. When I started towing, and I had to come up with a name, and I said Lavish. That's not going to work. I wouldn't. Who names a tow company Lavish? Fast forward to years. Now it's a brand. When I tell people, hey, I'm going to run for an election. I'm going to run for police commissioner. They laughed. They forgot all about it until it happened. Now I'm a candidate. They said, Lavish, he's running for what? How? It's like my drive. I always had to drive, but then I always had the backlash on
You're
one.
gonna always have that. Nobody.
It's going to be perfect.
Think about it. When I remember, and I'll just be honest about when Obama first announced that he was gonna run for president. I was like, well, who is he? He ain't paid his dues. I don't know who he is. And next thing I know, I'm crying the night that he won. So
I was out in the street blowing the horn. We was yelling.
So you can't get deterred from what God has put in you.
Right.
And so I remember because I am a therapist by trade and I do so many other things. But when I started my clothing line, I had a person call me and says, okay, Sabrina, you're going to have to explain this to me. What is it with the clothing? I can't see you. Like, looking down, like, I can't see you. Having a why would you do clothing? You're a therapist. You help people like that. I said, well, let me tell you something. What I know about people. People feel better when they look good on the outside.
They do.
So now I'm going to help you with your insides and your outside. That's what I do. And so I haven't even officially launched the brand. But I've already been featured in 2 international magazines.
Oh, there you go. That's great. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Congratulations on that.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
Celebrities wearing my pieces.
So you got to get, it's a female piece?
Of course, it's a female piece, but
okay.
I do have a piece for men. I do have a piece for men.
Okay.
It's called the Coat of Many Colors.
I'm going to have to wear it. Since you said celebrities was wearing the piece, me, myself, a torn celebrity shall be wearing it.
Yes, Hati, yes.
Yeah, that's great. I just wanted to speak on that because I want to give people more motivation and drive on whatever they're doing because there's so many different people out here that got ambitions to do something, but then they don't because of another person.
Yep, other people in their head.
Right.
I always say the voice that should be the loudest in your head is yours.
Is your own. And some people, they end up doing it eventually in time, but they have so much negative energy, they don't know how to shift it. They don't know how to block it out and focus on what they want to do.
Okay, so this is some things you got to do.
Okay.
Every single day, you have to realize that you're never alone, that God is always with you, and God plus you equals the majority. So it could be an army against you, but if God is on your side, it trumps all that. So I've had major things come up against me, major things, and people just hating on me, and I ain't trying to hurt nobody. I had somebody call and say, she's on TV doing therapy, and I don't do therapy on TV. That ain't what I do on TV, but whatever.
All in yours.
All in my business. All because they want your space. They feel like, well, why she on Fox 2? Why Fox 2 calling her all the time? Why is she on there every week? Why? Because that's what God has for me.
Right.
And what God has for me is for me. The only person, I learned this a long time, the only person that can derail that is me. Is when I say, oh, I'm scared. They're going to say something. I don't like what. I'd be like me and God. So every day, do that. Second thing, you must say positive things to yourself about yourself. Affirmations are very, very powerful. So think about if everything you said happened, what would you say?
Man, that was wonderful. As far as the negative?
Just as far as anything, what would you say?
Oh, if it happened the way that I said it or I thought it was going to happen, I'll be great on cloud 9.
But you have to say it first.
Say it to believe it.
Yep. Some people don't even say positive things to themselves, about themselves.
No, I definitely will say I say it. I say it.
Yep, they don't like things about themselves, so they focus on the negative and not the positive. So like in relationships, if you want a relationship and you spend all your time talking about, well, I don't want a man who lie. I don't want a man who cheat. I don't want a man who do this. I don't want a man who do that. I don't want a man who do, and that's where your focus is. Guess what's going to show up? All that stuff you just said you didn't want, because that's what you focused on. What you focus on is what grows. So instead of me saying what I don't want, spend time talking about what I do want. So what I do want can show up. Because if I say what I don't want is going to show up. So I say things every day positive about me. One of the things I say every day is that there's somebody in a room, at a table, pitching me to pay me. Every day. There's somebody on the planet talking about Dr. Sabrina. And every day I get a call. And sometimes I get calls from people. I got a call about 2 weeks ago from a white man in South Dakota.
Okay.
And he says, I have a school here, a university here, and we have a team, and the team is not getting along. We're just not getting along. I heard that you were the best. Could you come in and work with our team? Oh, yeah, white too? Yep. I sure can. I can do it. I can. That's what I do. I help people.
And that lets you know that, as you said, somebody's watching, somebody's talking about you, somebody's seeing you. Don't know from where, but you're getting around. They're speaking on you, your job, what you bring to the table. People are paying attention to it. And I noticed that I get more people that pay attention to me that I don't know.
Oh, of course.
I thought all my friends, they're watching.
No.
Man, I get so many strangers that come up to me just from seeing me moving around through the community or from social media, and I'm looking like, wow, who was that? Dang, they know that I'm doing this? That's crazy. It happens all the time.
It does.
It's not the closest ones to me.
Nope.
I feel like the closest ones to me sometimes gives me the hardest criticism.
Of course. It's
like, and so much negative.
You know, that's scriptural too. Because Jesus was a carpenter.
Right.
And he was Joseph's and Mary's boy. So when he went out and started healing other people, the people from his town was like, well, if you really are that, why don't you come and heal your own land? So there's a scripture that says, physician, heal thyself. And I thought it was saying, do things to better yourself, do things to heal your life. That's not what it was. It was a sarcastic statement from the people who lived where he grew up. They were saying, if you such a physician, come heal your own land. Come over here and do some miracles for us then. So they were being sarcastic with him.
Okay.
So you are never a prophet in your own land. So the people around you never see you the way others will see you. So you think about it, people will have people locally here that can do amazing things, but they don't get excited till someone comes from someplace else.
Right. I see that.
And so that's why I go other places. When I go other places, when I tell you people love on me, oh my God. I was in Vegas, and I was in Vegas really to just have a good time with my family. But I was on social media saying that I was there ziplining. And a lady there who hears me on the Michael Collier show texts me and says, well, can I take you to lunch? Sure. Oh my God, we had such a great time. So,
That's
people want to love
wonderful.
on you. People want to love on you.
Yeah.
Because you do things and say things that are beneficial to them. And so
And it
I
helps
just stopped looking for that validation from the people that I grew up with and my family members. I just don't. And I love them, so I'm going to love them. When I'm invited to the thing, I'm coming.
Okay.
I'm going. I'm going to do what I do. I'm going to sit there. I'm going to eat. But I don't expect it from them.
Now, what about forgiveness? Letting go of the past. Letting the past be the past. Moving forward.
I say there's 3 things we need to do. You need to reconcile your past.
Okay.
Because the past can never be changed. The past is a part of history. Anything that happened 10 minutes ago, we can't change because it's gone. So why are you stuck in something that you cannot change? You can't change how your parents treated you. I can't change the fact that I was raped. I can't change the fact that I've been through those things. It's what I do with it moving forward. I have to heal from it. I can't let it keep me up at night. I can't be so upset about the fact that my husband left me. And really? Okay, that's over. What am I going to do today? So first, you need to reconcile your past. Second, you got to respect your present.
Okay.
So what are you doing with your today? What are you doing with your now? What are you intentional about today? Because at the end of the day, all we have is right now. So you can either be upset and irritated and agitated and see somebody and want to jack them up and all that. Or you can live your best life today. And then the third thing that we have to do is we have to reach for a better future. So if you want to change something that you had in the past, you got to do something today that'll set you up for something better in the future.
Okay.
So what you doing today? What you doing today is going to impact where you're going into. And I can't spend all day thinking about, oh, well, tomorrow this going to happen. Tomorrow this going to happen. I don't really know what's going to happen tomorrow, but I know what I got is in my hands is right now.
And
what
that's
am
the
I
only
doing?
thing I'm worried about
That's
is
the
right
only thing
now.
I'm worried about right now. And of course, you do your plans. You may plan on what you're going to do. You're going to have your agenda. You may have, people schedule me to do stuff. I was scheduled to come here, things of that nature. But in that moment, I have to do things that bring light and levity to my life. And that's a choice I make.
Okay.
And forgiveness is never for the other person.
It's strictly for yourself.
It's strictly for you.
I had to learn that to a degree because I used to hold so much anger in.
Mm-hmm.
And certain things would trigger me off back to the anger. And it'll just mess my whole day up. And everybody else around me would be like, man, what are you mad about now? Man, 7 years ago, man, I remember this. And I'm mad. I'm still mad about it.
Or you run into somebody and it pricks that. It takes you back to that moment. And so I think that forgiveness allows you to not hold on to hate. I say hate holds, love releases. So you remember the song that says, I got 5 on it?
Mm-hmm.
I changed the words.
Let's hear it.
I got love on it. I put love on it. So I love on me. I love on God. I love on the people around me. And forgiveness is a part of loving me, because when you don't forgive and you're holding that hate and that anger, it's damaging you. It ain't doing nothing to the other person. It's like taking poison, but expecting the other person to die.
Yeah.
That's not going to happen.
It's not going to happen. You just hurting yourself.
I remember when my husband, my first husband did leave me. And so my son was 11 months old and I would be every night after I put the baby to bed, I would have my crying session. I would just be crying and, oh, I'm so miserable. And so one night my mother called and she said, what? And I answered, I told up when I asked her, and she said, what's wrong? Like, what's wrong? I said, and she went, do you think he's sitting up someplace crying over you? I said, wow. I never cried another day.
Okay.
Because he done went on about his business. And I'm devastated. And I can't live my best life staying stuck in what I can't control.
Right.
The only thing I can control is what I do with me. So I wasn't going to go and, first of all, let me say this to everybody. Stop chasing folk that don't want you. Stop wanting somebody that you thought was the best thing ever and y'all broke up, it didn't work out, and you still pining for them. The time that you are spending pining for them, you are not available for God to send you something better. You thought it was good, but if you're still living, he can send you better.
Oh, that's deep.
He can send you better. So my husband left. So 3-4 years later, they broke up. So one night, real late at night, he called me and he was like, hey. And I said, excuse me, who is this? He said his name. And I said, oh, Marcel is asleep. Because the only reason you could be calling here is to talk to your child. He said, no, I was reminiscing about, so child, I am currently experiencing better. So it was no way I'm going back down that street if the new street is better than the old street. I'm just saying. No.
There it is. That's great. I speak because I'm here. I want as a psychologist, I want to ask you, is it all right for me to have a partial I don't care attitude? And my partial I don't care attitude is more so I'm unbothered. When people come to me and people come to me with some messed up stuff, hey, Lavish, I had an accident in your truck. And I say, what happened? Take a deep breath, and I'm like, okay. I'm not really mad because it goes back to what you said. I can't go back in time and change the accident. I'm not happy about it, but I can't focus on what happened. I gotta focus on what I'm gonna do next, where I'm gonna get this truck fixed at. So a lot of times that's my attitude on a lot of things. It's not like I don't care about a situation or the circumstances. It's just for me to be at peace. I don't let it like fester up inside of me.
Yeah, I think that's very healthy, actually, because you can't allow someone else's emergency to become your crisis, because then you will never have peace, because people are always in a state of emergency. People just are. I always, my segment on Fox 2 is People 911 with Dr. Sabrina, because people are in a state of emergency. People need help. And so because I am the helper and I help people, when they come to me, it's not that I don't care. I do care. I listen. I give feedback. I ask great questions.
Okay.
Because one of the things that I feel as a person who is a helper, a therapist, or whatever, I'm not going to tell you what to do. You got to want to do it, and you got to see why it's important for you to do it for you. If you do it because of me, when I step out the picture, you're going to stop and go back to doing what you got to get the lesson for you.
Right.
So I think it's very important that you get to the point that you are able to take in information, do what you need to do with it, and then keep it pushing.
Okay. Because, even with relatives, they'll call and they'll scream and, oh, my gosh, this happened and this, and you act like you don't even care. And my thing is, sometimes people get offended. What do you want me to do about it?
Well,
it happened.
The first thing is, people can't make you respond how they feel you should respond. I have a very good friend. When her husband passed, she was very stoic. And so people kept saying, she ain't really love him because she ain't fall over in the grave. We got to think, we got to holler. We got to be the Wanda at the funerals. We just got to holler and scream. And that wasn't her makeup. That's not what she did. And so I told her, don't get caught up in what other people think you should do with what they think you should do.
Okay.
I don't do what other people think I should do. I do me. Can't nobody do me but me.
I just thought that was interesting because you are the people's person, the psychologist. So I definitely had to ask that because I've heard that not just with me in conversation. I had told so and so this, and they act like they didn't care. And everybody cares differently as well.
That's everybody. The thing. So when you say they act like they didn't care, that's you making an assumption. And so there's a book called The 4 Agreements. The 4 Agreements says if you do these 4 things, it changes the trajectory of your life. The first is to be impeccable with your words. Say what you mean and mean what you say. Number 2 is never take anything personally, because even when someone does something directly to you, it has more to do with what's going on inside of them than what's going on inside of you. So when bad stuff happens and you go, what did I do? What did I do? Well, first of all, the person that did it had the evil inside of them. You didn't have evil inside of you. That's them. They got to make atone for that. Then number 3 is never make an assumption. Because when you make an assumption, you're making it off of limited information. When someone says, well, you acting like you don't care. No, that ain't what you say. So when I'm saying this, and I don't feel that you care, so do you? Because somebody asks you that, you go, yeah, I care. But I can't change it. So now we're going to talk about moving forward, what we're going to do moving forward. If you ask the question instead of making the assumption, I always say assuming jacks everybody up every time. Just stop assuming. And then the last is just do your best, and know your best changes from situation to situation. I'm different when I'm well or when I'm sick or when I'm depressed or when I'm happy. But if in that moment I did my best, that's all I could do. So I make sure I do my best.
All right. Well, there you have it. We have Dr. Sabrina on the show. We've been on here almost 2 hours. I mean, it's just been flowing.
2 hours. I got to go. I gotta go eat.
She said she got to go eat.
Lavish needs some snacks. When you
do.
got people for 2 hours, I
know, right? I wasn't expecting
I need a
it.
charcuterie board or something with some sausage and some crackers and some cheese.
You're a funny person. I like you. You got a high sex drive, from what I believe. I didn't say it. You didn't say it out your mouth, but I paraphrased. My type of friend. You're real. She's down to earth, people.
I am.
She's down to earth. Listen to her. She's not rehearsed, scripted. She's kicking it how it is.
Yeah, I don't do that.
You don't do all that, huh? That's cool. Tell us about your book that you got up for sale, and your books that you have that they can go and find and buy.
They can go to my website, DrSabrinaBooks.com. DrSabrinaBooks.com, and all my books are there. So He's Not a Statistic book, Sabrina's Daily Elevations, from Tragedy to Triumph, to Sabrina's One-Liners for the Soul, to Essential Vision Atlas. I think that's all that's there right now.
And they can follow you on social media.
Yes, and on the gram. I'm on the gram at Dr. Sabrina Speaks. I am on Facebook as Dr. Sabrina. I am on Twitter. I am Dr. Sabrina. And TikTok at The People Expert. I love TikTok because that's where I give my little people expert tips of the day.
Oh, so here we go. I got to say this. Listen, the people's expert tip of the day.
It's 15 seconds.
15 seconds, but this is the one that got me. I want you to talk about it. I want you to actually repeat it. And that's when you stated and said something about people being nosy. What was that one? About people being nosy?
The one for today is that people are being nosy. This is for the people that are being nosy. So this is what I tell you. You have 24 hours in the day to mind your own business, which leaves you not a minute to mind anybody else. So stay in your lane. Do you. Roll your own boat gently down the stream.
I love it. And today's people's expert tip is what?
Do I have one for
you?
Today?
Ain't got one. You just got back from out of town.
I just got from back. I ain't got one. I ain't got one yet. But the one that I had that's on there that I really liked was there is a difference between settling and compromise.
Okay.
Because in relationships, you should never settle. However, compromise is absolutely necessary because sometimes you got to give a little to get a little. Stop being a taker. Stop wanting somebody to always do something for you when you ain't bringing nothing to the table, really?
Like sex.
And other stuff. I like to travel. And so I want someone, so if I meet a guy and he said, well, I don't have no, I ain't left nothing over there. Then no, sir. And I don't want to be the type of person that I go and I travel and I do everything and then he at home. I want a mate that has and experiences life with me.
Right. We all travel together.
Mm-hmm.
That's a beautiful experience. Be one of those couples holding hands, walking the beach as the sunset.
Yes.
That's the type of relationship I'm like.
Yes. That's
you know,
what I want. Come
taking
on,
pictures.
Jesus. Come on. But yeah.
Doing all kinds of romantic type of things. I am a hopeless romantic.
I am too.
You know, I'm a hopeless romantic.
I have a friend. My friend that took me to lunch yesterday. Her and her husband had such a great story. They grew up together, and then she got married. She had been married twice. He married the same person twice, divorced them twice, and they found each other on Facebook. And they've been married 10 years now, and they are such a cute couple. Oh my God, they are just so cute. Like he's a retired veteran, and he wrote a book. And he wrote a book about this tragedy that happened over in Israel. And he was one of those medevac. He did the 911. They would drop him from the helicopter and put him down on the save people and stuff. And so this particular tragedy, he was the first black medic on the scene, and so it was a lot of things that were wrong. So he wrote a book about it, and so it was just fascinating to hear him talk about like being dropped out the sky.
I know, right? That's
in the war, in the middle of the water,
action hero type of stuff.
Yes.
Goodness. Now, what do you think about dating or online dating, meeting people online?
I think online dating is just another tool.
Okay.
Any tool that you use, you need instructions on how to use it.
All right.
And so a lot of times people say, well, I don't want to meet somebody online because you don't know them, and you don't know somebody when you meet them at the gas station. You don't know somebody when you meet them at church.
It's all a chance.
You don't know the person until you take the time to get to know them. What I like about online dating, though, is when you're online, you get the chance to vet people. You get the chance to ask some questions. And this is a good time for me to talk about a new service that I'm going to be offering. I'm going to be offering a investigation service for men and women, because you need to know what you're dealing with. And it's going to be called Dr. Sabrina's Get Informed. And so it's going to be 3 packages. The one is going to be the getting to know you. The second, what's so funny?
I'm listening.
It's getting to know you. I forgot the second one. And the third one is getting to share a life with you. So it's 3 different phases of type of information that you're getting based on what you're planning to do with the person.
Okay.
So getting to know you, I'm just getting to know you. I'm just getting the date up, but I want to know. I want to know, are you who you say you are? I need to know some things. And then the second phase, I might really start to become committed. I may, want to invite you to meet my children, things of that nature. But then the third stage, I need to know a deeper level, because I'm really considering blending my life with you now. I need to know your credit score. I do.
You need to know the credit score.
I need to know the credit score. Because if you don't have no money, then you trying to get over here and figure out my money.
We got to come together and do this.
Yeah.
It's not going to be a one-person show.
And my thing is, and so when I say that it's information for both parties. Men can find out about women too, because women be
lying, saying they somebody they not.
And so my thing is, this is specific. When I start thinking about this for people who are well known, people see them all the time, they become targets.
That's
male
very
or
true.
female.
Very true.
So yeah, you need to know what you're working with, so then you know how to work it.
Okay. Good services. Okay. It's okay for somebody to drop in the DM.
Oh, absolutely.
You got them dropping in your DM.
Oh, they drop in the DM. But let me say this: stop dropping in the DM if you're married. I don't want a married man.
Okay.
I don't. If you're married, and stop trying to do the trickery, because again, I'm gonna find out.
What's the trickery?
The trickery is, they trying to act like they not married. So they be like, oh, I saw you on TV. I think you're so brilliant. You're so pretty. Can I take you to lunch? Can I take you to brunch? But they'll never want to take you to dinner. Because they got to go home. On the holiday, you don't hear from them.
You don't hear from them.
All the little red flags. You only see them in the daytime. Pay attention.
Pay attention, okay. All right. Listen, fellas. Get in that DM. You might get surprised. It might be good. All right, Dr. Sabrina, thanks for coming on the show. I appreciate your time.
This was fun. The time went by so fast, and I got to run home because I got a Zoom to do at 4 o'clock, Lord Jesus.
Yeah, you gotta Zoom home. Oh, man, this was great. This was just flowing, time going by. Normally, I'd be ready to go in about 45 minutes to an hour.
Really?
I got to get you back out here.
Okay.
Soon.
Before June 21st.
She's supposed to be moving.
Not supposed to be. I'm moving.
She's supposed to be moving in June.
I got the ticket. I'm going.
She's going to come back to do my show again.
I absolutely will come back to do your show again.
She says she's moving out of state, but they always come back to visit. They only can be gone for so long.
The weather. I'm going to with the weather.
Was this random?
No, I used to live in California before.
Okay.
I lived there when my son was in middle school.
Oh, okay, that's cool.
And then my dad got ill, and I moved back to help my mother with my father, and then I stayed. And then, everybody gone. My father gone, my mama gone. So I'm like, and my son don't
Your
live
son
here.
grown, so you like...
He don't live here. He don't even live here. So what am I here for?
Man, that's...
I can boogie. I think sometimes the change, especially of environment, is good.
Okay.
It helps you to shift your thinking. It gives you a whole new level of life. And so I'm excited about going to California because I have a lot of friends in Cali and a lot of celebrity friends that are like, when you going to be here, Brie? When you going to be here? So like I do stuff with Michael Collier. He's like, okay.
Yeah, I see that.
I need you here. When you going to be here? Because he has some things coming up that's very excited that I'll be a part of. So I'm excited to do that with him.
Okay.
I do stuff with Erica Campbell. She's out in Cali.
So we got a lot of work to do down there.
Yeah.
Did you notice I said we?
I did hear that. I did hear that.
We have
yes,
a lot of work to do
Hunty,
down there. So. All right. Thanks, everybody. I'm logging out. You know where to reach her on social media. And thanks for watching.